Hi guys, today we're going to be taking a look at something very similar, albeit smaller than the original. This is the Fortress FT03 Mini, and you'll remember with the original FT03 we had the case designed primarily for micro ATX. It did have the support there for mini ATX, but obviously dropping such a small form factor inside a micro ATX chassis, it pretty much just dwarfs it. So SilverStone have gone away, they've designed this mini version, and it's been engineered 50% smaller than the original. And obviously it has key similarities, but obviously compressing the case down 50%, we've got obviously some subtle differences in the features. They've had to take things out, they've had to change the way they put things in. So we're going to go through all these features today, show you what it's all about, and I hope you enjoy the video. First things first then, we'll take a look at the exterior of FT03 Mini. And as you can see here, very elegant, very sleek in its design. All of the side panels are solid and they've got no significant features except for the front panel, which has the SilverStone logo and a slot there, an opening there for slot loading optical drive, which takes the slim type. All of the side panels are anodized aluminium and they are 2.5mm thick, and to remove them we don't actually need to remove any screws. Just remove this top panel here and the panels literally just pull out. And you can see there we're using a plastic plug system, and this is very effective. It means that we can attach the side panels firmly and we don't need to mess about with screwdrivers or screws. Now at the bottom of the case we've got two features which I just want to show you. First of all, we've got the 4 rubber pads to stop the case from slipping on smooth surfaces. And then in the centre here we've got the air filter, which is a big improvement over the FT03, which of course had the magnetic air filter which is just attached to the bottom of the case. So this here, we can unclip this, and this is a plastic cover and it's got integrated the air filter, so you can take that off and clean it when it gets dirty, because obviously with this being an intake fan there's a potential there for a build-up of dust on the bottom of the case. Now this fan here is an air penetrator 140mm, and when we've got the system powered up it's going to operate at around 1200 RPM, and this fan here is going to be responsible for cooling the entire rig, because it's the only fan found inside FT03 Mini. And obviously as heat rises this is going to be pushing the air up and out through the top of the case. At the top of the case we have this removable ventilation panel. Now this is plastic and it allows the heat to rise up. We've also got the front panel controls along the centre. Here we've got a reset button. We've got the activity LEDs. We've got 2 USB 3 ports, those are via the motherboard header. And then we've got the headphone and the microphone jack. So we'll just remove this cover. And this gives us access here to the rear I/O ports, obviously with the motherboard tray being rotated inside FT03 Mini. And we've also got access there to the 2 PCI expansion slot covers, and these are with the ventilation. We've also got more ventilation, and we've also got the placement there for the power supply, and that's going to be SFX form factor. So we've taken a look at the outside of the case, and now we're going to take a look at the inside. As you can see, the build quality is exceptionally good, and the first thing to notice is that the motherboard has been rotated, so the rear I/O ports are at the very top. Now we're using the Zotac Mini ICX Fusion, so this has got its own GPU, so it's got its own CPU and heatsink, and you can see there is plenty of space if we wanted to install something different, perhaps with a bigger heatsink. PSU sits opposite to the motherboard, and this is SFX form factor, so it's the smaller type typically used for your mini ITX systems. And those redundant cables which come from the power supply that we're not using, those have been threaded and routed round behind the hard disk drive cage, and it might look a bit messy, but it's actually quite difficult to manipulate those cables and group them together. But I've done a fairly decent job, and I've left the PCI Express power cables just free in case I wanted to add a graphics card. We do have an integrated graphics card on this motherboard, but just in case I wanted to add a discrete solution. For hard disk drive storage there are 3 different options. The first of these is inside a 3.5-inch cage. As you can see here, I've got the 3.5-inch drive inside. Just need to apply the screws, it's as easy as that. And then we've got 2 different places for SSDs. You can see here I've already got an SSD installed inside the cage. And then we've got another spot just beneath the motherboard and you just need to apply your screws. Onto the topic of clearance, this is going to be an area that many of you will be interested in. So we're going to look at graphics card clearance, CPU cooler clearance, cable management clearance. So to start with, we'll take a look at the CPU cooler. As you can see here, we've got quite a lot of space actually for the low profile coolers. 90mm there from the bottom of the motherboard to the top. Obviously we've got the power supply which does obstruct things. So we've got 90mm and that covers quite a few low profile CPU coolers. And then for the graphics card, obviously we can add a discrete solution here. I've got an integrated GPU, so I haven't done this, but we've got the approximately 10 inches for the total length. So this isn't going to cover your ultra high end like 690, which is around 11 inches, but it does cover GTX 670, 680, which are high end in themselves. So you know, bundle this with a Z68 motherboard and a 680 and you've got a really powerful system. Now typically your cables would route behind the motherboard tray, but with this case we have them routing behind the hard disk drive cage. And here we've got the clearance, and you can see there just under 2 centimeters. So that should give you sufficient space to route your cables around the back. Okay, lastly then, I'm just going to give you a rough demonstration of how loud the air penetrator is when we've got the system powered up. So I'm going to take my microphone off, I'm going to power the system up, and then I'm going to give you a rough idea of how loud this is. So here we go. Okay guys, well that concludes our video today. We've been taking a look at the Fortress FT03 Mini, which is new to the market. As you've seen, excellent build quality. It's got that unique design which sets it apart from the rest. It's very compact, 50% smaller than the original FT03, and you can house high-end kit. You know, you think you've got the Z68 now on ITX, you've got the GTX 680 which is 10 inches in length, fits inside here, and you've got placements in there for SSDs. Combine those three things and you have got a very powerful little rig. Pricing for this is £100 in the UK. You're looking at on newegg.com in the States, 164 US dollars. Probably at the higher end of the Mini ITX chassis, but you know, it's kind of warranted with the quality and the unique design that you get. So thanks for watching guys. If you want to check out the full review, I'll drop that link in the description. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.